So hi, we're back with our series on the Anunnaki, giving you sort of a broad overview. The Anunnaki, of course, are our creator gods. They made us, they modeled stuff for us, and they have manipulated us up to this day. So now we're going to go to a slide that takes us where we are in the series,
Okay, so let me see if I can get
which
to,
is
I like those book
I'm
covers.
trying to get to
that's
the-
okay. While she's doing that, I'll bring you up to date. The Anunnaki are people from the planet Nibiru who came to Earth to mine gold, and they found gold, and they got volunteers from their home planet. They wanted the gold desperately to send back to their home planet to make into powder of white monoatomic gold and float up as a shield for their planet. And so they had volunteers, people that were wanted back on the home planet that wanted to save the planet, and they got rocketed down there. And so it goes for eons. They're for decade after decade, digging in the deep mines of the Southeast Africa,
Right.
and they're getting gold, and they're flying it in their Vaymanas and shipping some of it in boats up the Persian Gulf to Basra, and taking it to a place where they refine it into bars and fly it to Mars and transship it on and fly it to Nibiru, where it's turned into white powder monoatomic gold. And so the volunteers use a sonar as you're going too far. Anyway, I will have to jump a little bit because what they were doing then is working really hard to get everything going. And they're just setting everything up. And the first thing that happens now is the two principal guys, the head commander, whose name is Enlil, who's Yahweh in the Bible, and the chief scientist, whose name is Enki, and he's Lucifer in the Bible. And so their sister, who they both want to make it with and have a little prince with, and make lineages on Earth, these are half brothers. First of all, Ninmah, the sister, gets off and she gets to hang out with Enlil, the commander, and it doesn't work out. She moves on, and instead she goes to her old fiance, which is a chief scientist, and his name is Enki. And this is the story that we're starting here today. Enki and Ninmah. He wants a son so bad because he wants to have a son before his rival has a son, which in his son, if his rival has a son, if Enlil, Yahweh has a son, it'll be with his the woman he married, which is Ninlil, and he wants to get a son first. They're having this kind of race between a higher son and their way of thinking of it. If he can have it with his sister, his half sister, Ninmah. So he's saying, I want a son, let's do it. And he keeps popping out.
This is based on that ranking system. So if he has a son by his half sibling, Ninmah, then it'll be higher ranking than Enlil's son with Sud, Nimti, when she's a cousin. Anyway.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yes. And so it's not only does he get into sex with his second daughter, but he gets in and sees sex with his daughter's daughter and her daughter, and but the last one that he his mother, who's been incested and then abandoned. They fall in love with him, of course. And then he's really just interested in their mom. That's who he's in love with. But so the mother, Nikura, that's the person in the middle, she's trying to protect her little baby, which is Utu, that girl on the right, trying to protect her baby from getting seduced and then abandoned because it was so painful to her, to Nikura. But she can't protect Utu, and Utu is free child, and she's she runs across Enki tending his plants up in the mountains, and they have a great time together, and she gets pregnant, and and she gets wise too. She realizes what's coming down. I'll let you tell this story, Jen.
Well, she went to her grandmother, great grandmother Ninmah, and she, she's crying because once again, Enki has left her. Because what Enki really is looking for is Ninmah, because the children don't look like Ninmah. He thinks in his mind of work way of thinking that he's kind of having trying to find someone to replace Ninmah with another Ninmah, but they're of course they're different personalities. They're not the same person. So he gets this point and he leaves because after 2 weeks or whatever, and then he leaves her pregnant. So anyway, they have an abortion. But is this what the next thing's about? Oh, here it is. Okay, so
Right, click to
I
it.
think we're going. Oh, I haven't gone to the slideshow.
Oh, there we are.
Okay, so this is an episode
Go ahead.
in
You're on a roll.
Gilman where so Ninmah brought down all these plants from Nibiru, and she was looking at the plants that were here, and she's trying to determine what their purpose is, their function of these plants. So some of them were psychedelic, some of them were food, some were for medicines or stuff. So she was, the scientist, and she was growing these things. Meanwhile, Enki, he's very naughty, and he just goes to the garden, and he has his vizier beside him, and he starts eating all these things. And so she's really getting pissed off with Enki. He's had, her children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. He's impregnated them all. And she's not jealous,
Right.
but she doesn't like how he breaks her heart. And then he goes and he desecrates her garden, eats everything. He doesn't respect her. He has no regard for her. And so, and she left. Oops, sorry. She went back to the other, she had gone to South Africa, or so she went to North Africa to the original place where she had a, what do you call that? A lab with her. She left all her ladies up there.
Iraq,
Yeah,
honey.
Iraq, yeah. So
Actually, it's
still has
Northern
a facility up there
Kuwait, Northern Kuwait.
in Northern Kuwait. Thank you for helping me. And then she just disappeared. She went into the mountains, and she was getting back to nature, and she was just being with herself. And so let's see. Do you go into the story of the fox?
No.
Okay. Anyway,
Oh yeah, there it is. If you want to go into it.
Anyway, you don't have that in your slides.
No.
We'll do another slideshow net. So she.
Well, you want to tell a story anyway.
Well, it's a long story.
It's a good one.
Anyway, this a character called the fox, and I think it might be a female, but it's not really sure. Okay, where you have this in here? Okay. Anyway, so the fox retrieves her and says, "Oh, here it is." Oops. So the fox comes and says, "You got to get back. Enki's dying." So he got very, very sick because he's combining all these different plants. Every time I do that, it's
You don't have a steady hand.
here we go. I gotta
Takes
go.
a steady hand.
I'm there. Oh, okay. So anyway, she goes back and she makes love with him, and I've written this story up in my coming book, and I have it from Ninmah's perspective. But she produces 8 children, and there's a name for each one, and when they're born, she makes a destiny for each one. They determine their destiny. When the children are born, they say, "You're going to," never mind, Sasha, you're distracted. When the children are born, they say, "Okay, you're going to be in charge of the canals, and you're going to be," so they determine, they assign a destiny. And I think part of that was to eliminate these arguments.
Right.
Because now they're starting to have all these different generations. So first it was simple, it was just the 3, Ninmah, Enki, and Enlil, and then Now they're all having children, so they have to find places and jobs for them to be. Come on back.
It's just like the English royal family. You're going to go live in Windsor, and you're going to go do this, and you're going to talk to these groups.
Right, they still do it. So
Right,
see,
right.
the royals are the descendants, hundreds of generations later, but they determine their fate, and they say you're going to be the Prince of Wales, and you're going to be the Duke of Windsor, whatever. So they're
Right.
still doing it. And for each child she had, another organ, another part of his body, which was wounded and was killing him, was healed. I'm not sure how that happens, but I guess it's symbolic that she went through this long process of egg pregnancies.
Mhm.
And then at the end of it, he realized that he had been mean to his daughter and granddaughter and great-granddaughter. And he said, when I made love with our girls, you were the one for whom I longed. So he pledged his loyalty and love to her forever. So this story is a beautiful love story. And anyway, if I ever get Glenn on, he documents how they continue through time, and they're still together. And that's for a future episode. Okay, back to you, Sasha. Next.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me do that.
So he says, well, the thing is, he also has a wife. Enki. So Ninmah gets busy with all her stuff she's doing. She's in charge of a lot of things, and he sends for his wife, who's also a co-wife with Ninmah. They have a polyamorous family, and the women have no problem with each other. They love each other very much. So that's not the problem. But he's well, okay, I'm going to bring my son here, my heir, because Commander Enlil's got his son, Ninurta, here. And I'm going to have my son, Marduk, who is a stunning prince who's trained his whole life to be king of Nibiru. And he's really something else. I'm going to have him and my wife come, and sure enough, he comes, and straight away he starts having babies with her. Nergal, his oldest, Gibel, Dumuzi, and Ninigal. These will all become very, very important, famous Anunnaki. And he has them with her, and then just for diversion, one day he flies his granddaughter on a trip. Now his home life's going for him, and he gives a ride to Inanna's sister, Inanna's younger sister, Erishkigal.
That's his niece, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said granddaughter, niece.
Niece.
Enlil's granddaughter.
Enlil's granddaughter.
Okay.
He gives her a ride, and wouldn't you know it, they stop and have some fun, and she gets pregnant with Ningishzidda, who later on is going to become Thoth. And so he delivers her pregnant to the bottom of South Africa, where she runs the weather station there. And of course, she's got her own problems, because he drops her off. She's pregnant, and she's starting to go about her job, which is checking the climate change and so forth. And Nergal, who's the son of Enki, who has been given charge of all of South Africa, he doesn't want this woman from the other clan in the middle of his turf, and he comes to kill her. And when she sees him and he sees her, they get other ideas. And instead of killing her, they get it on. They have a mad affair. They make love, and she becomes queen of the underworld. Later on, she will meet her older sister Inanna down there, but that's where she is, and that's how she got there.
And she was the goddess of the netherworld, right?
That's right. And the nether, for them, the Abzu, or the underworld, or the netherworld, means Africa. If you look at a map,
Yeah.
is Africa above Asia? No, it's below Asia. So that, and they're just saying, yes, Jenna.
So when people are saying go to hell, they're just saying go to South Africa, go to the mines. Okay, I'll go to the mines. They might be interesting.
Well,
So
I
anyway,
mean,
Oh, it's beautiful. It was South Africa was incredibly beautiful.
still beautiful.
Yeah. So here's what the
I mean, she was.
Isn't that
I mean,
So she sends her
Erich
kid.
Kegel. Erich Kegel was
Yeah,
was yeah, she queen of the great below, and that was part of the netherworld, right?
That's right.
That's it. That's what
Yeah,
they
see,
said.
that's exactly what Samuel Noah Craig. See, when
Okay,
you because he has a glossary in the back of that book that tells like everybody that you've been saying, I can look up exactly take your interpretation and his interpretation, and you guys, I mean, so far you've been head on with him. So I mean, it makes sense because that's exactly what I read. That's why I'm glad I pulled these books out earlier, because I remember you saying you were going to talk about this, and I was like, I want to see what other glossaries are out there about these people. It's pretty cool.
As soon as so she's in love with Nergal, but she's pregnant, and so but he doesn't want this kid around. As soon as he's able to take care of himself, she sends him to his dad, who's at his place in Zimbabwe. And so this is this is what the ruins of Zimbabwe look like. And I think the next slide will probably show you what it actually a reconstruction looks like. But he built this wall a bit later on, and you'll see why he built the wall in a bit. But the wall came later. He built a castle there, and that's part of what they did. Okay, so here's Ningishzidda grown up. He grew up there. His dad educated him, and this is probably one of the smartest humans that have ever lived. Just an incredible genius. Plus, that's the main focus of Enki's energies. As when he got his little baby boy, he just put all his energy into educating, and he was so receptive. So
I wonder what are those things that's coming out of his shoulders.
This is the here you can see the reconstruction. This is what it wound up looking like. This is later on, when after we hybrids were created. We'll get to that in the next slide after this one, or the next slideshow after down the road. But he had to build this wall to try to protect his the hybrids that were living with him from the commander and his son. And that's we'll get to that part of the story later. But anyway, this is what it wound up looking at, but it didn't have a wall at first. And again, here's what it's looking like, and here's who he feared. You'll see later on why he had feared with Ninurta with a missile, because this guy is going to come after once hybrids are connected. The commander sends his son, this guy here, Ninurta, to blow a hole in the wall. So this is combining a lot of pictures here. And you can see here's where Greater Zimbabwe is. I don't know if you're seeing my arrow when I do this. And I'm pointing right now.
Okay, you can point. Yes.
Is that working? Yeah, anyway, so that's this is all what this is. The wall was added later. Okay, I think that's we did this one last time. I know we did.
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't. Okay. So I might so then it's important that we pick up something that happened a little bit back there. You will recall, or you won't recall if you know the beginning ones, but I'll tell you anyway, that when the ex-king of Nibiru, whose name was Alalu, fled to Earth, he did so in a rocket ship that had 9 nukes in it. And then Enki, the chief scientist guy and his private pilot, Absu, took the nukes and hid them in a cave in Africa.
Yeah, I
And
remember you talking
Anzu,
about
the
that.
guy who is the interplanetary pilot who had taken Enki to Earth, said, "Hey, where's my cousins or my kinsman's nukes?" Enki said, "You're fired. Don't ask me questions like that. None of your fucking business." And so, Jess can scold me for that. Okay. But anyway, so Anzu winds up being on Mars, and he gets the job as head of the astronaut corps, which operates between Mars and Earth. And the astronauts are flyboys. They shuttle between Earth and they fly back and forth to Nibiru, and they want more beer, and they want girls, and they want recreation facilities and time off, and they're not getting any. And the commander's working them more and more. And so Anzu's going to complain to the commander. And the commander says, "I don't want to hear this guy. He's supposed to just do what he's told." And the king says, "Look, cooperate with him. Show him why you're being so stingy. We need the gold desperately, and blah blah blah." And so he basically orders the commander. This is the king from Nibiru. Orders the commander. You got to let him see. You got to let him see the operation, and then he'll sympathize with you.
Right.
Well, what happens is that then Anzu steals the keys, and his men come down and they land in Baalbek. They take it. They capture Abgal, and Ninurta, the son of Ninmah and Enlil, gets in a ship that Enki makes for him, and he shoots down Anzu, and he frees Abgal. And he takes them, drags him before the council, and the council says, "Execute him." And Ninurta executes him. So that's a little bit of the background that takes us to this place of how Ninurta got to be such a big shot. The thing underneath him is the way they represent his plane. That thing that he has is a multi-headed missile. He has the capacity to fire this missile, which opens up into a whole bunch of other ones. That's what's represented in this. And he's got this plane, and he is in command. And so when Enlil says do something, he'll send this guy faster than we would ever send our military to do shit. This guy can do it himself.
Right. He was the one and only. He was the army of one.
after they execute Anzu, Enlil says, "I know, I'll get Marduk, who's agitating over my hands, and let him really work for me, and let him really get the message. I'm going to send your son, Enki," Enlil says, "I'm going to send Marduk, Prince, to take Anzu's place as boss of Mars base. And his first job is to hang Anzu's body there and tell the men, this is what happens to anybody. I'm not going to hang all of you this time, but this is what happened to your leader, and this is what happened to every one of you if you disobey me." And of course, the hidden message is, better get this, Marduk, because I mean you too. Yeah, you want to say something?
No, sit back.
So anyway, while Marduk is there, he gets to be really good pals with the astronauts up there, and especially another nobleman named Shamgaz.
Mm-hmm.
And Shamgaz is a headman of all these astronauts, and he is a huge power figure. Later on, he will move with Marduk down to Egypt, but we'll come to that later. But right now, they've got these gold being dug by volunteers. He's got a foreman, the guy's named Inugi, and they made these lanes of rocks. They move these gigantic rocks. They extend over thousands of miles using sonar and very magnetic rocks, and they can make liquids go up, and they use an advanced technology. Michael Challenger has analyzed this, and
then the next one's the last slide of this.
the next one's the
show.
last slide for this show.
Right on, right on.
Now, these are, what was Michael Tellinger's book name? Anyway, you should.
Stone circles.
Yeah.
Circles of Africa.
Do y'all have contact
And
with
there's-
him?
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Well,
I-
we should-
I've lost track of it, but yeah,
We should do a
stayed
show
at
with
our
him.
house. He's hard to get because of the time difference, but I can approach him, yeah. But he came here and he did a presentation at the Temple of Peace here in Maui. And so we hosted him. And that was fun. Alrighty,
Yeah, I
Al, we're
like to
gonna
talk
stop
to Al.
the. Yes, all these people are fun to talk